Hello there! Welcome to the Throne of Thunder Looking for Raid Guide. My name is Tuskeh, and in this video we will discuss Wing 3 of the Throne of Thunder, the Halls of Flesh Shaping. We'll cover everything from trash to the bosses and how to handle them. Role-specific information will also be included. This is a 3-boss wing, and every boss has a chance to drop a Sigil of Power, a Sigil of Wisdom, a Secrets of the Empire, and a Titan Runestone for your legendary questline. Now, just to clarify, this video is not a substitute for a detailed boss-specific guide. This is more of an overview, designed to get you up to speed with the bosses you'll be facing, so that you're ready to complete the wing and keep up with the others in your pug. As always, the best thing to be in an LFR is patient. People are going to ignore mechanics, stand in the fire, and generally be ignorant, so it's important that you know what you're doing to help things run as smoothly as they can. Now, let's get started. The trash up to the first boss is pretty easy. You'll start with 3 roaming fogs. Pull them one at a time. They'll do damage to the tank with a pick up and bite combo, but the main thing they do is to summon an eye sentry. This is a stationary enemy that will pull about 5 players near it, then create a prison made from purple mist. Standing in this mist will deal damage, and it will form a sort of maze around the eye sentry. Kill it as soon as you can and move through the maze. If you're not in the eye sentry's maze, you can enter it by running through the walls if you want to help damage it or heal. After the 3 roaming fogs die, the 4 large stone faces will be pushed away to reveal more trash. These 4 hidden fog will leap onto the platform when they're aggroed, knocking nearby players back. Don't be near them when they land, or you may get knocked off the platform. This is instant death. The hidden fog will use harsh light to deal damage in a line, and summon an invisible ad that deals raid damage. Once the hidden fog dies, it will reveal the ad, allowing the raid to kill it. Once all 4 hidden fogs are killed, Durumu the Forgotten will float down from above. Beware that although he has no aggro radius, it's easy to misclick and start the fight by hitting him, so just back off to avoid accidentally pulling the boss. This fight is the hardest in this wing by far, and has a few mechanics that you'll need to know. But before that, the tanks. Durumu's tank switch mechanic is called Hard Stare. This puts 2 debuff on the tank, one called Serious Wound, which reduces all healing taken by 10% per stack, and one called Arterial Cut, which will deal 40,000 damage every second until they're healed to full health. Swap on about 5 stacks. Just remember that he'll never move, so make sure you stick close to avoid him eating the melee DPS for breakfast. Throughout the fight, Durumu will have small, untargetable eyes around him. These have their own abilities: Life Drain, Force of Will, and Lingering Gaze. Life Drain will target a random player and stun them, creating a beam between them and the eye that cast it. They'll take damage and heal the boss for larger amounts the longer the stun lasts. Players can intercept the beam, allowing it to stun them instead of the other player. The beam lasts for 15 seconds overall, and you should try to intercept beams for players that have been stunned for more than 6 or so seconds. Healers, you may have to spot heal targets that have taken a full life drain, as their health can start to spike. Force of Will will create a shadowy shockwave focused on a player. This will deal damage and momentarily knock down anyone it hits, so try to avoid it. Lingering Gaze is a very annoying ability. 3 eyeballs will fly at random players, and then leave a void zone on the floor. This will deal damage and slow anyone who stands in it, and will last for the rest of the fight. If you get targeted by a Lingering Gaze, and your boss mods will tell you if you have, then move either to the edge of the platform, or right under Durumu, to give the raid room to move around. Durumu himself has 2 main abilities that are both very important. First, he'll use Light Spectrum. This summons 3 ads, 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 yellow, that will need to be killed to make the ability stop. However, they're invisible. Durumu will then target 2 random players and put either a blue or a red light on them. This light works like a constant shockwave, which will start at Durumu and shoot out to the end of the platform. If you're inside any of these, you'll take damage, but if no one is inside them, they'll deal really heavy raid damage, so make sure you're inside one of these lights. The lights also happen to reveal any ad they move over, so if you're targeted by the light, it's vital that you start moving in a circle around Durumu to find the ad. Once you've revealed it, you can stop, and then the ranged DPS can kill the ad. The red and the blue lights are targeted at players and are thus controlled by them. However, a yellow beam will spawn that will target a random player to spawn on, but will then randomly move around the room by itself. Eventually, the beam will find its ad, so just be patient and kill it when it appears. Once the 3 ads are dead, the phase ends. Finally, and most importantly, Durumu will use Disintegration Beam. This is pretty much as scary as it sounds. He'll charge up a beam, create a maze, and then start moving around the room while firing the beam, and instantly kill anyone caught in it. This can kill the entire raid, so you need to know how it works. Durumu will face a direction and start channeling a beam. It will look like this. Right now, the beam is completely safe. Stand in it, as this will give you the best position for what to do next. After a few seconds, Durumu will start to fill the room with dark mist. This mist hurts if you stand in it. He'll fill the room quarter by quarter. However, one quarter will be safe. You can see which one it is by the small snake-like tendrils of energy flowing across the floor. This quarter will be filled last, and it signals the place you want to start. When you see these tendrils, move to that quarter of the room. This safe quarter will always be to the left or the right of the beam, so that's why you start there. Once you're at the safe quarter, you want to go right to the edge of the mist. You'll be running through it fairly soon. The beam will turn into a disintegration beam and instantly kill anyone it touches, and it will start to move towards you. Simultaneously, the mist will start to part in certain areas, creating a sort of maze for you to move through. There will be two paths, one at range, about 20 to 25 yards away from the boss, and one in melee range. Now, this maze will slowly reveal itself for about 30 seconds, until Durumu has made approximately a 90-degree turn, whereupon it will fade and the fight will repeat itself. Keep moving, don't go too fast or too slow, and remember that the maze will always keep you safe from the beam. It may go slow or fast, depending on if you're at range, but there will be periods where you have to pause for a moment to wait for the next section to appear. Don't panic. If you run into the mist in a panic, you'll likely die. Keep moving, focus entirely on surviving, and you'll do fine. Healers, there's some light raid damage here, but you generally won't have to heal unless someone is very, very low. That's the entire fight. Tank swap at 5 stacks, share the life drain by intercepting the beam, move out of the force of will, place the lingering gaze void zones to the edge of the room or under Durumu, use the light beams to reveal the ads while simultaneously standing in them, and navigate through the maze to avoid being insta-killed. Just as a note, we had some pretty high DPS here, and he didn't actually end up finishing his maze phase, but there may be times where he won't even get to cast this maze at all. This is nice, but don't count on it happening. Make sure you bloodlust on the pull. Once Durumu is dead, it's on to the trash up to the next boss. There's only two kinds here, Quivering Blobs and Malignant Oozes. The Blobs are small ads and they can be AoE down. They do raid damage when they die, so healers be prepared to use a cooldown and do a lot of AoE healing if the tanks decide to pull a lot. The Malignant Oozes heal 10% of their health every couple of seconds, but this can be ignored. Just nuke them down. Once you've cleared the trash, it's time for Primordius. This guy is really, really easy. This is a one-phase fight. He'll use Primordial Strike on his tank, dealing heavy damage in a cone. He'll use Malformed Blood, dealing 10,000 damage every 3 seconds to the tank. This will stack. Swap on about 6 stacks. You'll want to slowly move Primordius around the room to make him absorb as little living fluid as possible. We'll discuss what living fluid is now. Primordius takes 35% less damage from players in this fight. His main mechanic is an evolution bar, which will steadily fill throughout the fight, and grant him abilities when it reaches full. He'll also summon small ads called living fluid that slowly move towards him. If they reach him, his evolution bar goes up faster. Killing a living fluid makes it spawn one of 2 pools, red or purple. Purple is bad and horrible and screws you over and never ever go near it. Ever. Red will give you a debuff that serves as a buff, either a bonus to your stats, mastery, crit chance, haste, etc. So you'll want to kill these living fluids to gather these debuffs. Once you reach 5 of these debuffs, you'll become mutated, turn into a Sarok, and be able to deal full damage to Primordius. However, any more red pools that you run over will debuff you with negative stats, so make sure you avoid any more. When Primordius reaches 100 mutation, he'll evolve, gain 5% increased damage, and gain an ability. The abilities he can gain are Ventral Sacs, which deal raid damage, Gas Bladder, which creates a large AoE around him that splits damage, Acidic Spines, which deal damage in an AoE around random targets, Pathogen Glands, which deal damage to random players and summon more living fluid, Metabolic Boost, which increases his attack speed, and Erupting Pustules, which throw blood around the room that deals damage in the impact area. All of this can be healed through. That's the entire fight. Gather living fluid debuffs, which are the red pools, until you have 5. Focus Primordius while you're a Sarok. When it ends, gather 5 more. Avoid red pools if you're a Sorok, and everyone avoid purple pools no matter what. Just as a note, the purple pools will slowly move towards the boss, so keep an eye on them. Bloodlust when as many people as possible are mutated into Sorok. When Primordius inevitably falls over, there's only 2 trash packs until the last boss. Head up the stairs, but don't open the door unless you're a tank and the raid is ready. Doing so will make trash attack you. The first pack is 2 Royal Guards. These do raid damage and have a shockwave, so face them away from the raid. The second pack is a group of 6 Ritualists. These guys do raid damage like the Royal Guards, but they also have a form of lightning. One is a short-ranged Ritual Lightning, and the other is a long-ranged Ritual Lightning. This will deal damage if you're at 0 to 30 yards, or 30 to 60 yards. Try to stick close and just AoE heal through the lightning as you AoE the Ritualists down. Once they die, the large anima globe in the middle of the room becomes active. Hitting it starts the fight, so be careful. Now, the Dark Animus fight is all about handling multiple enemies. There are 3 kinds of golem here. Anima golems, large anima golems, and massive anima golems. There's also the boss, the Dark Animus. Now, all of the golems require anima, the red stuff in the globe, to actually do anything. They can't attack or be attacked without it. You can't get rid of the anima in this fight, only pass it around between golems. So when a golem dies, it will pass on the anima inside it to another inactive one. The bigger the golem, the more anima it can hold. The globe contains 80 anima, and when it's attacked, it will burst and fill the anima golems with 4 anima each. These are the small adds. These anima golems do nothing but melee attack, so gather them up and AoE them down. When these anima golems start dying, they'll start to fill up the larger golems. The large anima golems can hold more anima than the smaller ones, and will use Crimson Wake, which creates a moving, exploding void zone that follows a random player for 30 seconds. Kite it around the room if you're targeted. Next up is the massive anima golems. These guys can hold a lot of anima and have 2 abilities. One is a matter swap and the other is explosive slam. Explosive slam deals AoE damage around the tank and increases the damage they take from the slam. This doesn't need to be tank swapped, but it can help if you have undergeared tanks or healers. Matter swap is a dispellable debuff placed on a player. It lasts for 10 seconds, and when it's removed it will deal damage to them and swap them with the furthest target in the raid. The damage the debuff deals is split between the 2 targets, and will be skewed in one direction based upon when it's removed. If you dispel it immediately, the debuffed person will likely die. If you let it drop off, the person they swap with will likely die instead. Healers, you want to dispel this debuff at about 5 seconds remaining. Finally, there's the Dark Animus himself. Killing him ends the fight, and he has multiple abilities based upon how much anima he has. At all times, he'll use Siphon Anima, draining 1 anima from every golem alive. For this reason, by the time the Dark Animus is up and about, you'll want to have only the 2 massive anima golems alive. He'll also use Touch of the Animus, dealing damage every few seconds to a random player for the rest of the fight. When he reaches 25 anima, the Dark Animus will create a ring of anima around his tank. This ring is made of multiple orbs that move in on the tank, and if a player touches one, it explodes and increases the damage they take from melee attacks for 15 seconds. For this reason, it's a good idea to have a healer nearby to have them absorb the orbs and create a hole big enough for the tank to escape from. 1 or 2 orbs is normally enough for this. If no one does this though, which is likely on LFR, the tank can just rush through one of the orbs and only get 1 stack of the debuff. It's not that big of a deal. When he reaches 50 anima, the Dark Animus will start to make players afflicted with Touch of the Animus spew out bolts, dealing damage to nearby players. When he's at 75 anima, he'll use Interrupting Jolt, which is a short cast followed by heavy raid damage. If you're casting when this raid damage comes in, you'll be interrupted, so make sure you stop casting. The Dark Animus cannot get more than 80 anima over the fight. That's the mechanics, so let's go over how to handle it. At the start of the fight, AoE down the anima golems. The anima will go everywhere and start to summon tons of enemies, and start the Dark Animus' activation sequence. This takes 1 minute, so you'll have time even when the Dark Animus is activated. You'll have a ton of large golems and maybe even the massive ones too. AoE down the large golems, but don't kill the massive ones. The goal is to have only the massive golems alive when you're fighting the Dark Animus. When the large golems are dead, go on to the Dark Animus. 1 tank grabs him, the other tanks the 2 massive golems. Swap if you'd like, but it isn't necessary as the explosive slam from the massive golem has a debuff cap, meaning that they can't really get into one-shot territory. Cooldowns are good near high stacks though. Bloodlust when the DPS is focusing on the Dark Animus and nuke him down. Break the Anima Ring to let the tank get free. Dispel Matter Swap at 5 seconds remaining. Move away from the raid if you have Anima Font. Stop casting when Interrupting Jolt comes in to avoid being interrupted. Tanks, throughout this fight you'll want to try and share enemies as much as you can, especially when you have the initial wave of small golems and large golems. These don't do any kind of tank swap mechanics, so spread them out between the two of you as much as you can, but keep them clumped up so that the raid can AoE them down. Once the Dark Animus is dead, you've completed the wing. Congratulations on your success. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you have any thoughts, make sure to leave a comment below and like or dislike the video. I'm always after feedback, so let me know what you think. You can contact me using the links in the description, or just leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to catch my videos as soon as they come out. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck with your loot in the Throne of Thunder. I am so tired of saying the word anima.